This is the story of my name, my last name. I have a somewhat unusual last name, Arms, A-R-M-S, Arms. I would say arms and legs, arms. And in my family, there's a story, the explanation of this name. Apparently, we were not always called Arms. We were called something else. Uh, the family came from England, and nobody's really sure what our real name is. Some people say maybe it was Perkins or Persons, but nobody really knows. There's different ideas. But anyway, there was an ancestor of mine, and he was in a pub in England, getting drunk, I guess, if you can imagine. And in came a bunch of guys, sailors from the British Navy, and they were so darn friendly. And they started buying him drinks. And the next thing he knew, it was the next morning, and he was a member of the British Navy. He was aboard a ship, and he found out quickly that he hated the British Navy. Um, they fed you horrible food like spiced lard, and for any infraction, you were whipped. You were lashed with a whip, and just for doing your job slowly or not appropriately in some way, you might get a smack upside the head with a club. Um, 6 months later, well, in these jobs, you could be on a ship at 6 or 7 years might go by before you ever got back to England. It was like you were in some kind of floating prison. So 6 months later, he was off the coast of what was then the colony of Massachusetts. And he was sleeping on deck. It was a hot summer night. And he thought, I'm going to get out of the British Navy. He jumped overboard and he swam ashore. And the ship was anchored. It's more than a mile out, maybe a mile and a half. And he dried off and he found himself a Massachusetts pub. And he kind of resumed where he left off. And after a while, he got into an argument with a local man. They got into a fight, got into an altercation, and he found himself arrested and presented to a Massachusetts magistrate. And the magistrate asked him an important question. Who are you, sir? And that was like a crossroads in my family's history. Who are you, sir? He could not say his real name. Sometimes when I tell people this story, I'll stop right there and I'll say, do you know why? See if they can figure out why. He had just deserted the British Navy. That is a capital offense. They would kill you for that in the British Navy. They would hang you. Sometimes they did a thing called keel hauling. They would tie a rope to you, a cable of some sort, and they would throw you off the front of the ship, and the ship would sail right over you slowly. And they would tell you if you could hold your breath long enough to come out the other end, maybe you would get a break. And nobody ever survived it. He could not say his name, so he had to say the first thing he could think of in his condition. And all he could think was that his arms hurt from all that swimming. So he said, Ebenezer Arms. And ever since, that has been my family's name.